burns. Let's see the definition. A burn is it's a type of injury to the skin or any tissue mainly caused by the person exposed to heat, cold, electricity, chemicals, friction or radiation. And even the heat from hot liquids that usually we call as scalding, and any using of any open cooking fires or unsafe cook stoves, and alcoholism and smoking and self-harm or violence. Let's see the causes. So burns caused by variety of resources, mainly external resource sources classified as thermal, that is heat related, and chemical, electrical and radiation. Let's see thermal. Thermal mainly fire and hot liquids are the common main causes in the thermal. Chemical burn caused by over 25,000 substances. So mainly it will be caused either acid or alkali. That is strong base 55% or strong acid 26%. Coming to the electrical burns injury classified as the high voltage. Whenever the person is exposed towards high voltage, that is greater or equal to 1000 volts, and even low voltage less than 1000 volts, or as flash burns secondary to an electric arc. Next one is the radiation burns may be caused by a protracted exposure. The person is exposed towards an high ultraviolet light, such as from direct sunlight or tanning boots or arc welding. Let's see the pathophysiology. So whenever the temperature greater than 44 degrees Celsius or 111 degree Fahrenheit, here what will happen? The proteins begin losing the three-dimensional shape and all the proteins will be started to breaking down. So as a result, what will happen? There will be cell and tissue damage occur, and there will be disruption of cell membrane causes cell to loss. So all the potassium will be getting loosened from the cells to the spaces outside the cells. So from the intracellular space, all the potassium will be getting loosened and it will enter into the outer side of the cell and to take up water and sodium inside. So hence it results what? There will be an increased leakage of fluid from the capillaries, and there will be subsequent tissue edema, because the absorption of water and sodium, it will be causing a tissue edema, and there will be a overall blood volume loss within the remaining blood suffering significant. There will be plasma loss and making overall the blood more concentrated. So finally what will happen? There will be poor blood flow to organs such as kidney, GI tract, and kidney failure and stomach ulcer. So overall finally the person will be enter into the multi-organ failure. Let's see the signs and symptoms. So mainly the characteristics or the signs and symptoms of the burns depends upon how much depth or the rate of injury that the person is exposed to. And mainly superficial burns cause pain lasting 2 to 3 days, following by peeling of the skin over the next few days. And it will be depending upon the perception of pain and the suffering from one person to another. That is, individuals suffering from more severe burns may indicate discomfort or complain of feeling pressure rather than pain. And full thickness burns may be entirely insensitive to light, touch or puncture. And superficial burns are typically red color. Severe burns will be pink, white or black. And more worrisome signs include, that is the person having above 70% of burns and all, they will be usually having the symptoms of shortness of breath, hoarseness of voice and stridor, and or wheezing, itchiness is common during the healing process. So let's see the diagnostic. Diagnostic evaluation mainly depend upon the burns depth mechanism of injury, extent and associated injuries. The size of the burn will be measured by the total body surface area affected by partial thickness or full thickness burns. And first degree burns are usually only red in color and not blistering and will not be included in this estimation. So most burns, 70%, involve less than 10% of total body surface area. And here, how we can calculate the total body surface area? There are different methods we can follow to calculate the total body surface area. So some of the rules are Wallach rule of nines, Lunt and Browder chart. These are the two ways we can estimate the burn's depth. So here we will see the classification and characteristics of burn. So in first degree burns, it will be characterized by erythema, that is localized redness, appears sunburned like and not included when calculating burn size. So here first degree may not be included in calculating burn size, usually healed by themselves. Spontaneously it will be healed. And second degree, the part of skin has been damaged or destroyed, and here usually the person will be having a blisters and the blisters that is full like bulle, that blisters full of fluid and pink underlying tissue often heal by themselves. And third degree, full skin has been destroyed and here deep red tissue underlying blister, presence of bloody blister fluid. And second degree we have seen that the blisters full of clear fluid, but here in third degree it will be full of bloody blister fluid and even muscles and bone may be destroyed and require professional treatment. And the fourth degree is a severe condition, that's the emergency. Measures should be taken here. There will be penetrate deep tissue to fat, muscle, bone, require immediate professional treatment. Here you can see the estimation of person total body surface area in adult children. So first one is the rule of 9. You can see the head 9%, the anterior thorax 18, posterior thorax 18, each arm 9%, and leg, right leg 18, left leg, and that perineal area 1%. And the second one is the Lunt-Browder diagram. There you can see the calculation that the head that is mainly used for children, that is 0 year, less than 1 year, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year and 15 year based on the body surface area. Severity of burns. So American Burn Association classified some severity based on minor, moderate and major. So here minor, that is adult, less than 10% total body surface area. Younger adult means less than 5% in total body surface area and less than 2% full thickness of burn. All the thing will be coming under the minor burns. And the second one is the moderate. Here the adult 10 to 20% total body surface area. Younger old 5 to 10% total body surface area and 2 to 5% of full thickness burn. High voltage injury, possible inhalation injury, circumferential burn, and or even the person is having any associated health problems. All these things will be coming under moderate burns. And in major burns, the adult about 20% total body surface area, young or old about 10% total body surface area, and above 5% full thickness burn, high voltage burn, known inhalation injury, significant burn to face, joints, hands or feet, and even any associated injury to major organs. To treat minor burns, so minor burns usually in the household activities, we can follow these steps. First, what we have to do, cool the burn. Then hold the burned area under cool, not that much cold. So we can cool the burn with running water or apply a cool wet compress until the pain eases. And remove rings or other tight items. Don't break blisters. So it will be subside by itself. We should not break the blisters. Apply lotion, bandage the burn, take a pain reliever, consider a tetanus shot within 12-24 hours. The burns patient has the same priorities as all other trauma patients. So first one is the main thing, assessment. So assessment, we have to check for airway, breathing. So when we are seeing for breathing, be aware of inhalation and rapid airway compromise. Third, circulation, that is fluid replacement. Then fourth, disability. Mainly we have to check for compartment syndrome. Then fifth, exposure, that is percentage area of burn. Essential management points. First, stop the burning. Then A, B, C, D, E. Determine the percentage area of burn, mainly rule of 9. Then good IVSS and early fluid replacement to prevent hypovolemic shock. The severity of the burn is determined by burn surface area, depth of burn and other consideration. And here morbidity and mortality rises with increasing burn surface area. It also rises with increasing age, so that even small burns may be fatal in elderly people. So it will be depend upon the age of the patient. Burn management in adult. The rule of 9 is commonly used to estimate the burn surface area in adult. So here the body is divided into anatomical regions that represent 9%, all multiples of 9 of the total body surface area. You can see that the figure. The outstretched palm and fingers approximates, that is 1% of the body surface area. And even if you are seeing the burn area is small, here you have to assess how many times your hand covers the area. And this morbidity and mortality rises with increased burn surface area. It also rises with increasing age, so that even small burns may be fatal in elderly people. So serious burn requiring hospitalization. Greater than 15% burns in an adult, greater than 10% burns in a child. Any burn is the very young, the elderly or the infirm, and even the full thickness of burn to special regions, example face, hands, feet, perineum, circumferential burns, inhalation injury, associated trauma or significant pre-burn illness, example diabetes. Wound care and first aid for burns. If the patient arrives at the healthcare facility without first aid having been given, first we have to drench the burn thoroughly with cool water to prevent further damage and remove all burn clothing. And if the burn area is limited, immerse the site in cold water for 30 minutes to reduce pain and edema and to minimize tissue damage. And when we are seeing the area, we know that if the area is large, after it has been doused with cool water, apply clean wraps about the burn area, the whole patient, to prevent systemic heat loss and hypothermia. And hypothermia is a particular risk in young children, and first 6 hours following injury are very critical. Transport the patient with the severe burns to a hospital as soon as possible. Initially, burns are sterile, focus the treatment on speedy healing. So mainly whatever the procedures or intervention we are doing, everything we have to maintain a sterile aseptic technique and administer tetanus prophylaxis, except in small burns, debride. So all the bullae should be debridement and excise other necrotic. All the dead tissue should be excised. And initially debride all necrotic tissue over the first several days. After debridement, gently cleanse the burn with 0.25% chlorhexidine solution, 0.1% cetrimide solution or another mild water based antiseptic, and we should not use alcohol based solution, and gently scrub, that will be loosen the necrotic tissue. And we have to apply a thin layer of antibiotic cream, that is mainly silver sulfadiazine. And dress the burn with the petroleum gauze and dry gauze thick enough to prevent seepage to the outer layers. Daily treatment, change the dressing daily, twice if possible, and often necessary to prevent seepage through the dressing. On each dressing change, remove the loosened tissue and we have to inspect the wound for coloration, discoloration or hemorrhage, because these all the signs will be indicate infection. And fever will not be an useful sign, as it may persist until the burn wound is closed. And we should observe for cellulitis in the surrounding tissue. So that is also one of the better indication of infection. And give systemic antibiotics in case of hemolytic streptococcal wound infection or septicemia. And Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection often results in septicemia and death. So these are all the infection we have to treat with the systemic aminoglycosides. Then administer topical antibiotic chemotherapy daily, that is silver nitrate 0.5% aqueous is the cheapest, is applied in occlusive dressing, and we should not penetrate eschar. And it depletes electrolytes and stains the local environment. Use silver sulfur diazine, that is 1% miscible ointment with a single layer dressing. So it has a limited eschar penetration and may cause neutropenia. Then mafenide acetate 11% is a miscible ointment, is used without dressings. It also penetrates eschar, but this will be causes acidosis. So alternate these agents is an appropriate strategy. And treat burned hands with a special care to preserve function. So here cover the hand, we have to cover with a silver sulfur diazine and place them loose gloves or bags secured at the wrist with a crumb bandage. So to prevent edema. And elevate the hands for first 48 hours. Then we can slowly ask the person to do an hand exercise. At least once a day remove the gloves, bath the hand, inspect the burn, and then reapply silver sulfur diazine and the gloves. And if skin grafting is necessary, so we should consider treatment by a specialist after healthy granulation tissue appears. And next is the healing phase. The depth of the burn and the surface involved influence the duration of the healing phase. And without infection, superficial burns heal rapidly. And apply split thickness skin graft to full thickness burns after wound excision or the appearance of healthy granulation tissue. And we have to provide a long term care for the patient. And once the burn scars undergo maturation, so the first thing is it will be red, raised and uncomfortable, and these all the things will become hypertrophic and form keloids. So once they flatten and soften and fade with the time, this process is unpredictable and can take up to even 2 years. So all these things we have to explain the patient about the healing phase. Coming to the intravenous fluids, in those with the poor tissue perfusion, boluses of isotonic crystalloid solution should be given based on Portland formula. 4 ml into percentage of total body surface area into patient's weight equal to total fluid in first 24 hours. That is 50% of total volume is in first 8 hours and 50% of total volume over next 16 hours. So percent of total body surface area equal to percentage of, that is the bonds we will be calculating. Coming to the events formula, first 24 hours, normal saline 1 ml per kg per percentage of bonds, colloid 1 ml per kg per percentage of bonds, and glucose 2000 ml. Second 24 hours, half of first 24 hour requirement. Brook formula, 2 ml into percentage of bonds into body weight in 24 hours. First half of total volume given in the first 8 hours, remaining half of total volume given over following 16 hours. Next 24 hours total volume half of first day. Colloids 0.3 to 0.5 ml per kg per percentage of burns. Modified Portland formula, 3 to 4 ml per kg per percentage of burns for 24 hours. Half in the first 8 hours from the time of injury. Off in the next 60 hours. Coming to the nutrition, here the patient's energy and protein requirement will be extremely high due to the catabolism of trauma, heat loss, infection and demands of tissue regeneration. If necessary, feed the patient. So the person is not tolerating, better we have to insert an nasogastric tube and we can give the parenteral fluids. So up to 6,000 kilocalories per day we have to give the fluid. Then anemia and malnutrition prevent burn, wound healing and result in failure of skin graft. So eggs and peanut oil and locally available supplements are good. That will be good for treating the anemia and malnutrition. Coming to the medications, burns will be very painful and a number of different options may be used for pain management. So analgesics such as ibuprofen and acetaminophen and even opioids and morphine also we can give. The diluted morphine sulfate we can administer the patient as a form of IV. The erythropoietin has not been found effective to prevent or treat anemia in burn cases. Coming to the surgery, so wounds always require surgical closure with a skin graft or flap and typically anything more than a small full thickness burn. So this will be dealt with as early as possible and all circumferential burns of the limbs or chest may need urgent surgical release of the skin known as sclerotomy. And chemical burns always require extensive irrigation or we have to clean with the soap and water, remove dead tissue and apply dressing are important aspects of wound care in chemical burns. Prognosis. Prognosis is worse in those with larger burns and those who are older and females. The presence of smoke inhalation injury, other significant injuries such as long bone fracture and serious comorbidities, example the person is having already heart disease, diabetes, psychiatric illness and suicidal intent also influence the prognosis. Depend upon the prognosis will be vary for each person. Complications. Potential complications include pneumonia, cellulitis, urinary tract infections and respiratory failure. Thank you.